Welcome to Inspire and Move, the show that inspires you to create, connect, and grow. I'm going to bring you meaningful conversations, aha moments, and all the motivation you need to up-level every part of your life. I'm Ali Aruda, founder of Inspire and Move, and your personal hype girl. I've gone from fashion school to celebrity stylist to corporate marketing to brick and mortar entrepreneurship with my husband, each time learning incredible lessons how to pivot, reimagine, and implement the steps to become successful. I am passionate about inspiring others to live their best life, a life of joy. We have the power to design a life that we love because life is too short not to. The best part is that you weren't meant to do this alone. If you feel like you were meant for more, let me ride shotgun with you, and together, let's get you to where you want to go. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Inspire and Move podcast. I'm your host, Ali Aruda. Thank you so much for being here. And before we dive into today's episode, I do just want to express my gratitude for all of you listening and sharing the Inspire and Move podcast. We are coming up to 1 year, which is crazy. I launched the Inspire and Move podcast last year at my big annual event, Women Inspiring Women, that we host every September, which is also just around the corner. And we always have all the information in the show notes that you can click there if you are local or you would like to travel in for it. Holy smokes, we would love to have you. Thursday, September 12th in Burlington, Ontario. It's going to be amazing. And we have the links for a lot of our other upcoming events. So we would love, love, love to have you. There is nothing more exciting than meeting some of your online friends in real life. And events are the perfect opportunity to do that. So I just wanted to park that right there. I feel like normally I talk about that at the end of the show, but since we're all here and excited and ready to dive in, why not share it here at the beginning? And also just, again, express my gratitude for you, for all of you listening, supporting, sharing the show. It really means so much. I feel really excited and passionate about growing Inspire and Move as a brand, as a show. Now we're on YouTube, so you can actually watch the podcast, you can listen to the podcast, you can see it on Instagram Reels. You can do all three at once if you want. That's just like a lot of doses of Ali, but the option is there should you be interested. And I feel like that was going to be no one other than maybe my mother. So anyways, today's podcast is dedicated to my brother. Now, a lot of you might not know this, and the time of recording this, we are coming up to what will be 20 years that I have been without my brother. I lost my brother August 8th, 2004. And I might have probably told this story a little bit, maybe way back. And so if you are new to the show, I'll give you just a little bit of a Coles Notes. But I lost my brother right before I moved to Toronto. I lived in a different city at the time, and he lived in Toronto. And I was so excited to be moving to the same city as my big brother. We had a really close relationship. We were considered, half brother, half sister, I guess by blood. We only shared our dad, was our same parent, but that really didn't affect our relationship. We were really close. We loved each other. We cared about each other. We had great conversations, even though, I was 18 and he was 34, which is crazy because I have since outlived him. I have done things that he never got the opportunity to do. And even though I am sitting here confidently, talking about how it's been 20 years, man, do I still have my moments. And in these last 5 years or so, maybe 6, we have had some big milestones. We had the point where my brother would have turned 50. And so we actually had a little birthday party for him at that time, just some oysters and some champagne and some great stories about him, because that would have been a milestone birthday. We hit, the time when I turned 34, and that was when he took his life. He suffered with bipolar disorder for 4 years and ultimately took his own life. And I have always been very open about this. I think this has actually been a big part of my healing journey, is talking about it. And when Garrett took his life, mental health was very, very uncomfortable for a lot of people to talk about. And now, don't get me wrong, it still is for many people that maybe never experienced it. But now there is so much more awareness about it, which I'm very grateful for. And I also think there's a lot more of it around the world. We've also come out of this cluster of a time with a pandemic and what that's done to people. And so I'm grateful that there are so many more resources to help and support people that deal with mental health. And this is not what I want to really focus on. I just want to give a little bit of context surrounding what happened to my brother. And, I have a great focus of this episode of what I want to really share with you. But, in these last few years, I have gone through some of these more milestone hurdles where I got to the point where, I turned the age that he was when he took his life. Then that following year, I officially outlived my brother. That's nuts. When you really sit down and think about that and how you've outlived someone that was always older than you, that messes with you for a little bit. And then we had, obviously I lost my dad in there. And so that brings up those same emotions. And I look at how I've been able to get married and have this wonderful, loving relationship and partnership with my husband. We've opened a business together and what that journey has been. And now here we are ready to celebrate 20 years. And it's not, you don't really want to celebrate it, but it's more of like that acknowledging celebration. And again, if you've been following me on Instagram for a while, you've been listening to the show since last year, I am big on celebrations. Typically, I really love the high vibe celebrations, like you've smashed a business milestone or maybe at the gym, a personal best. I love those celebrations. But these, I think, are also important to honor someone really special that is not here anymore and keep their personality alive by how you remember them, how you talk about them, and not just letting them drift off into the past. And I really am trying to do that a lot with my dad because that still feels very fresh for me. And I'm aware that that is very much still an open wound, and I have to be mindful of how I talk about that here, even on the show, because you don't need to be having your AirPods in or driving your car listening to me work through my emotions. But I'm trying to, apply certain life lessons to some of these traumatic experiences. And that's what I want to share with you today. I did an Instagram post about this last year around Garrett's anniversary, about lessons that I learned with his passing. And some people might think that's a bit odd, but I think depending on your mindset, it can be quite powerful to look at and assess some of these challenging emotional situations and see how you can extract lessons and how you can provide those lessons to yourself or others and how they can have a positive impact. And that's what I really wanted to dive into and share with you today. So I have a few lessons that I have learned since losing my brother. And lesson number one, is that your mindset is everything. And I have talked about this, I think even on the show or on Instagram, how I could have absolutely let myself go into a dark place. And that was actually a big turning point for me with fitness. I really turned to fitness as a way to help me work through my emotions and balance a healthier lifestyle because we're all friends here. I got to a point where I had a really bad relationship with the scale and with food. And I went into a darker direction in that area of my life. Thankfully, not, emotions and feelings. I did seek some support there, but fitness became a really big part of my healing journey and absolutely still is. I had to go through a traumatic experience again almost 3 years ago, and fitness still remained a big part of my healing journey, and it still is. So if we can have a mindset that focuses on bigger things, focuses on how we can make ourselves feel better, feel our best, even in a hard time. Our mind is so powerful, and we have the power to control our mind. And it does take work. It does take, positive propaganda. What books are you listening to? What podcasts are you listening to? Even what music are you listening to? Who are you spending your time with? Who are you spending time around? What are the conversations that they're having, that they are talking about? Are they positive? Are they negative? What environments are you in? Do you go to, I feel like I always use the example of gyms because it is so much, in our wheelhouse. We are really dedicated to cultivating a positive environment at our gym, Benchmark Fitness. And I'm sure there's many gyms, yoga studios, Pilates studios that work the same way and that feel the same way. But I'm sure there are gyms and studios out there that are not. Maybe you just swipe your key card and you go in and it's dingy. Maybe it smells bad and it doesn't inspire you. It doesn't lift you up. So it does really matter where you spend your time. What's the environment that you are spending your time in, and how does that correlate with the mindset that you are operating within? So our mindset is everything. And that is something that we can actively work on. I know I just kind of already said that, but I just want to reinforce that. that you can work on that. You can start today. If you've never done mindset work, you can start today. I just hired a coach to help me with that. I have been passionate about working on my mindset for years, but I want to take myself to the whole new level, and I am outsourcing that. And that is something I'm excited about. I have paid in full, so I have put skin in the game. So I'm going to show up to the calls. I need to commit myself to doing the homework, and I am actively working on making my mindset even better, even more positive, more expansive, and using that to my full capacity. So your mindset is everything. Lesson number 2, your health is your greatest wealth. And this kind of rolls off of lesson number 1 about your health. My brother, when he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, was just so beside himself that he had to be on medication. And he committed to himself. So this is even just kind of extracting a lesson from number 1 about your mindset being everything. He committed to working so hard on himself that he would be able to get off of the medication. And he turned to fitness. And this is all, mental health, physical health, emotional health. He really went hard on his commitment to fitness and what that meant for him. So part of his commitment was to join a great gym. And at the time, it was Bally Fitness in downtown Toronto. I don't know if many of you remember that, but he paid whatever it was for the gym membership, and he also committed himself to running. And he set big, lofty goals for running and what marathons he wanted to sign up for and complete and train for, what he wanted to qualify for. And his big dream, his big stretch goal was always to qualify for and run Boston. So these are things that have impacted me and how I want to, use my mindset work and commitment that I have to health being my greatest wealth, and what that means for me and what it meant for my mucky years of working through my grief from the trauma. But all these years later, these 20 years later, and now I'm a fitness professional and I own a gym, that this has impacted me huge. And I have these conversations with my clients about, our health being our greatest wealth. And it is a balance of physical health, mental health, emotional health. We want to make sure that everyone is in check. And there are different things that we need to do for each bucket: your emotional health, your mental health, your physical health. Of course, yes, exercise and moving your body for your physical health, super, super important. And I will talk about that till the cows come home, because it is something that is so near and dear to my heart. And of course, also my profession. But our mental health and emotional health, kind of does tie back into the mindset work. What are we doing to fuel our minds? What are we consuming? And what are we doing to nurture our heart? And I know I've shared this on an episode way back, that my mom gave me this advice years ago, and it has always stuck with me, that when something's wrong with our teeth, we go to the dentist. When something's wrong with us, we don't feel well, we go to the doctor. But when our heart hurts, what do? We can seek help for that, whether it's a therapist, a coach, if it's, something more spiritual, a priest, minister. There are ways that we can outsource to support what we need for our heart. So we want to make sure that we are taking care of all components of our health, because it is our greatest wealth. So that was lesson number 2. Lesson number 3, if there's something you think you can't do, try it anyways and prove them wrong. So now we're getting a little fired up with these lessons. And this is something that, for me personally, I could have let the loss of my brother really dictate who I am, what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go in life. But you better believe I chose the opposite. I'm going to do big things. And then I got knocked down again, a couple years ago, losing my dad. And my fire has come back with full of vengeance. And so again, going back to lesson number 1 with our mindset, we have the power to make big commitments. Life can be so shitty sometimes. Sometimes you get knocked down multiple times in a row. I had a client that just went through that, like through the weeds. And I was like, it will get better. This is just super mucky and in the weeds right now. And we need to come out of this like Rolodex of like one thing, a second thing, a third thing. Sometimes, unfortunately, that does happen in life and it sucks. But we can also think like there will always be someone that's worse off. And maybe that's not the most positive way of thinking, but it's a real quick reframe. And I think the sooner that we can reframe things, and I'm not saying that we need to have something traumatic happen and then immediately put our positivity hat on. No, give yourself the grace, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, you have to have that grace to grieve and then heal and claw your way out of rock bottom. And again, I've said this on the show probably many times, that the good thing about rock bottom, you guys, is that that's the lowest that you can go. When you are at rock bottom, there is only one direction to go, and that is up. And yes, you might have to claw your way out. It might be dirty and gritty. You might get bruises and scratches, but you will claw your way out, and then you will start your comeback season. So if you think that there's something that you can't do because of something that's happened to you, you need to have a really quick reframe, a real honest, hard chat with yourself, and tell yourself that you can do anything. You get that mindset right, you can do anything. And hey, there are going to be things in life that you want to do that aren't going to be easy. But what's the fun in that? If everything was easy and, casual, smooth sailing, no. Gritty things build character for you. And there will always be lessons in those situations. And that's one of the most powerful things that I have learned in my life between, not one, but 2 traumatic losses early on in my life. Being 18 and then being in your early 30s, you're not meant to lose your dad and your brother around that ages. But it happened. And I'm going to use those experiences as very powerful driving forces for how I'm going to live my life. And that's what I sort of mean about having that reframe and a new trajectory for how you're going to live your life. There's something that you think you can't do, try again. Prove them wrong and go out and do it and be great. Lesson number 4, think, dream, and then do. So you want to think about it. You're having this reframe. You're thinking through what is it that you're going to do. Well, then dream about it. Visualize it. And I actually learned something yesterday from my coach called scripting, which I had heard of, but in a different capacity. And it's the idea of sort of talking in the future of, how you're feeling, who you're spending your time with, what kind of money is in your bank account, or what's your investments, really dream planning. So you're thinking about what you want to do. Then you got to dream it. You have to feel it. And this is an area of work that I'm really going to be diving into myself personally, and I'm excited for. But it will take accountability for myself to do that, because then I want to go do exactly that. I'm going to think it, I'm going to dream it, and then I'm going to go do it. And when I have a goal in mind, especially a stretch goal, I'm going to achieve that goal. And, sometimes it might take a week, sometimes it might take a month, sometimes it might take a year. Maybe there's some that will be longer. But you have to take the action to go do it. Because don't just think it and dream it. Well, then what's the fun in that? You're not going to make it happen. Think about it, dream it, and then put the action in to go do it and make it happen. Lesson number 5, life is precious, cherish every day. This is another one that is so easy for us to just float through and forget about, that anything can happen in any hour of the day, any day. And again, I know I'm not super positivity hat focused, but it's a painful reality that life is short and anything can happen. And again, maybe this comes from some of these experiences that I've gone through. And I hope that you've not experienced things like that you hear this, life is precious, cherish every day, that it hits differently for you than it does for me. But it's just a really powerful reminder to cherish every day, and that we get to wake up and put 2 feet on the ground when we get out of bed in the morning, that we get to take a big gust of fresh air and get oxygen into our lungs, that we have running water to wash our face, brush our teeth, do laundry. Maybe you are lucky enough to have dogs in your life and you get all this just endless love for your dogs. I currently have one on my lap and I feel so much love for her. But that we do get to cherish every day. And I think it is so easy for us to get distracted in the mundane things, even our big goals that we're working so hard for, that maybe we forget to pause and feel so much gratitude for the ability to work towards those goals, or smash our goals and celebrate them. Again, this is sort of more the angle of having that positive celebration of what are you working towards and how are you celebrating those goals. This is something that we can so quickly and easily add into our day, just to really honor how we get to live our life, who we get to spend time with, the roof over our heads. And you guys, this is something that I think I've shared this on the show before, but last spring, my mom and I went to a part of Mexico where we were doing a humanitarian trip. And in the moment, it was a bit of an adjustment for me. I mean, okay, we're sleeping on bunk beds, we're eating this, and showers like 3 minutes. And hey, it could be so much worse. But it was one of those life experiences that fast forward 5 months later, 9 months later, here we are well over a year later. I have experienced such a life-changing experience. And actually, this is one of those things that makes me feel a little bit emotional, where I have so much gratitude for the life that I get to live, that I get to wash my sheets every week, that I get to wash dishes right after using them, whether I want to wash them by hand with running water or use the dishwasher I have. But I put myself in an entirely different experience and proximity is power. And this proximity I had to these families that were just so excited to have visitors and to have these, fresh garden planted on their property. They just want to share everything they have with you. And I cannot wait to do this life-changing experience again. And I would love to bring a community of people with me because, man, what a game changer. And I would encourage everyone, if you have the opportunity to do something like that, a service trip, a humanitarian trip, it will change your life forever for the most expansive, impactful, positive way, and be a real shifter for you of how you show up every day and how you feel grateful. And so I love expressing that. Matt and I do our gratitude practice. And so often I say, I'm just so grateful to have a bed. I'm grateful to have a comfortable bed with 2 pillows, not one, I have 2. So just being able to cherish some of these things is a really wonderful way to go through life and tell people that you love, that you cherish them, that you are grateful to be able to talk to them on the phone or text with them or see them in person, share a meal with them. And I feel like that, can get really deep on this, but life is precious. So cherish every day. And lesson number 6. Sometimes, and this could be a controversial one, just get ready. Sometimes losing someone you care for and love so deeply can be one of your greatest life lessons and forever North Star. I know, can be controversial. But this is how I look at the, losing Garrett. I would give anything, don't get me wrong. I would love to have my brother back and my dad back. But this current way of life, it's not possible. And so I am going to choose to, use the power of my mind, my heart, feeling so much gratitude for the relationships that I had with both of them. And, again, it's been 20 years since I lost my brother. I've lived so much life in 20 years. But losing Garrett at the age of 18 was absolutely my North Star of how I make decisions in life and how I so often don't think twice. Now that's circumstantial. I would definitely think twice if I was going, do I want to go zip lining or would I like to go on a boat day? Well, I would go choose the boat day. There are certain things I will not do, but it has been a very powerful lesson to remind me that, back to lesson number 5, life is short, life is precious. And I want to choose wisely and make big decisions and not be scared of things. That sometimes the best things we can do in life are the things that scare us. I had a client today that she made a big, scary decision. And the feeling on the other side of that can just be pure joy or relief or euphoria. That was a recent episode I did talking about fear and my fear of wake surfing at our friend's lake house, of falling down. But once I battled through that fear, and I got up on that board, and on the other side of that was this pure joy and euphoria. So taking something that is such a hard experience in life, and it doesn't necessarily need to be the death of a loved one. I know that was sort of, the specific angle of lesson number 6 about how losing someone that you love and care for so much can be your North Star. But it could also be a really brutal experience in your own life that you came out of. I just recently heard Dan Martell on an interview with Lori Harder, and I didn't know that this crazy successful entrepreneur and author was in jail at one point, and that was the turning point for him to really turn around his life. And man, look, what this guy has done since is remarkable. And so that's kind of what I mean. Like, you can take lesson number 6 and spin it how it best suits your life, where your life is at so far, and what you can do to sort of have that life experience become your North Star, and how you make decisions and move forward and do big things. Because if there is something that you want to do, go do it, you guys. Don't play small, play big, play full out. This is something that we talk about a lot when it comes to being in rooms. Play full out, shine bright. Don't dim your light for other people, shine bright. And I am so grateful to have had this opportunity to share some of these lessons with you, because these are things that I sit with and think about and move through my own life with. And what's the fun in doing that if I don't share that with you guys and bring you along for the ride? So just to recap the 6 lessons. Number 1, your mindset is everything. Number 2, your health is your greatest wealth. Number 3, if there's something you think you can't do, try it anyways and prove them wrong. Lesson number 4, think, dream, and then do. Lesson number 5, life is precious. Cherish every day. And lesson number 6, sometimes losing someone you love and care for so deeply can be one of your greatest life lessons and forever North Star. So thank you so much for coming along for the ride with today's episode. I am sending you all so much love and gratitude. And again, just to how I started this episode, thank you so much for your ongoing love and support of the Inspire and Move podcast, for sharing these episodes in your social media, in your stories, sharing it with a friend that you think it would resonate with, or a client or a family member. However you're sharing it, I am so grateful. And again, I would love to just, continue to grow the show. And I would be so grateful and appreciative if you just took 2 minutes and wrote a lovely positive review with a 5-star rating. That would mean so much and would really help this show grow. So love you guys. Appreciate you all so much. Thank you for being here, and we will see you again soon. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you took 30 seconds and shared this on social media, send it to a friend, or leave a 5-star review. There is power in community, and I am so grateful to have you part of mine.